Thank you everyone for showing up to our town hall about integrating UAS into law enforcement. My name is Jacob.
I'm Caleb.
I'm Kayla.
I'm Chad.
So today we're going to be discussing how to smoothly integrate unmanned aircraft systems into police work. We're going to be discussing the needs of the community and our operational plan. Then we're going to go into community engagement functions which are required to start a UAS unit for a public safety entity. Alright, so the first thing we did is analyze the needs of the community so we could create a program specifically for you. We found out that helicopters are very expensive to operate compared to UAS. As you can see in the chart here, buying a helicopter can be as much as $1 million up front, where a UAS can be at the very most around $60,000. They're also significantly cheaper to operate. They require less personnel to operate, and they can complete a task significantly faster than a manned aircraft. That brings us into the next point. We need something that can respond faster than a traditional helicopter. Manned aircraft have to warm up, the pilots have to get from wherever they're stationed to the helicopter, to the air, to the scene, and that can be very time consuming. Whereas a UAS can be stored in an officer's trunk and rapidly deployed in 5 minutes. Next, we looked at the operations that manned aircraft can fly in, which is obviously pretty limited. They're limited by weather, by the size of the operating space. So for example, a UAS would be able to fly in between buildings when a manned aircraft obviously would not be able to go in such a small space. Finally, we needed something that was less risky to personnel. So obviously in a weather situation, we don't want to risk the lives of the pilots in the helicopter, but if we use a UAS, that doesn't put the operator in risk.
So some of the main objectives of having a US program for our community would be it aids law enforcement in the following: incident response, search and rescue, video rendering of accidents, which we will get into later. It promotes a safer community. It also keeps our officers safe. It promotes more unmanned aircraft system training and promotes awareness within the community about unmanned aircraft systems. So some benefits the community and the agency using the UAS could have is safer and more effective for law enforcement. Community can benefit from the search and rescue aspect because of the variety of payloads a UAS can have. For example, infrared sensors and cameras on the UAS, it could spot hotspots in a building for the fire department to just see where the source of the fire is coming from. And it does not use taxpayer dollars, so this ultimately means no cost to the community.
So everything keeps coming back to safety for both the community and the police officers. So an example of this could be, we could use a drone to clear a rooftop. That way we don't have to have an officer climb up a ladder to the top of a 3rd-story building to clear the roof. And so that protects the officer and it decreases the time it would take to clear that building. We also want to highlight it does not cost taxpayer dollars. So it's completely funded out of money that was confiscated from suspects, probably from, drug seizures in the past. So this is not coming out of our budget, it's not coming out of your pockets, it's coming from criminals' pockets. So I think that's the best case scenario.
Alright, so now we're talking about how safe to be maintained when we're using the US. So first off, I'd like to state that in getting all these things prepared, we spoke with the Daytona Beach Police Department, who has their own UAS program, and we coordinated with Anthony Galante. And when they were first setting up their program, they coordinated with Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, which is the best of the best. So, in coordinating with them, we talked about how we'll have training. So, all personnel who are going to be using and operating UAS will go through all the proper training and hours to get their Part 107 certification. From there, when operating, they'll follow checklists and protocols that we have determined and borrowed from their department to properly use the UAS for that specific manufacturer or particular drone and payload. From there, we'll always review our past missions, see if there were any issues, any problems, or any failures, and we will learn from that and move on from that. From there, we will also have policy revision with laws and regulations. So, in the U.S. market today, laws are constantly changing and moving, and we want to make sure we're always within that, always being safe, and always following any proper rules and regulations we need to. We will also have a set standards committee where we making sure that in each operation we follow a minimum standard to make sure that there's any issues or any problems. And also part of our safety is maintenance. Proper maintenance on a drone is necessary in maintaining safety. If we need to remove any parts or replace any parts, we will do so to make sure there's no issues or complications in any missions.
One major thing that I would also like to add on is with standards and checklists, one of the major things that we'll be concluding as well is standard operating procedures. These will be outlining how to, from the start of getting the UAS out of the box all the way to landing and doing post-flight checklist. But a standard operating procedure, which will be covered a little further on, will be the overarching way of maintaining safety operations of UAS.
All right, so how will UAS be used in the community? So we kind of alluded to this earlier, but we're gonna get into more specifics. So first off, one of the big things for us is how we connect with you is inspections after natural disasters. So say hurricanes or any major event happens, say your damage happened to your roof and you just need help. Instead of calling someone and paying for a private company to come out and get imagery for you that you would then have to send to insurance anyways, if we're available, we'll help you out. We'll come out, we'll do the imagery for you, we'll make that imagery accessible to you, and then all you have to do is send it to your insurance company. 3D car crash reconstruction. So when understanding how accidents happen and how to prevent them and what way it happens, so we'll take images from a car incident or any sort of car crash, we put them in software and it'll basically make a 3D model for us. And from that 3D model, we can look at any and all aspects from all angles, so to make certain determinations that'll help us and help make things safer in the future moving forward, which we'll also make available to you to look at. And crime scene analysis. So, as I alluded to just a moment ago, we'll make 3D models, 3D images. So we'll be able to make 3D models, 3D images of a scene. And that'll help us understand maybe where certain people were moving from or moving to, or maybe we missed something. It might give us hints as to maybe there's another portion of the scene that we're missing. And search and rescue. So as we alluded to before, we have infrared. So when someone goes missing, infrared, especially in wooded areas or at night, it'll help us find someone very easily, spot them very easily with the camera and the imagery we get back from there.
Something that's really awesome about where Chad was talking about the 3D crash reconstruction is we can get accuracies up to centimeters with certain techniques used for the analysis and stuff like that. But what's great about it is once we actually do our photography, which could take 15 to 20 minutes, it'll get the roads back open and get traffic moving smoothly more quickly. So there's a lot less traffic backup and stuff like that. So great way to be used for UAS.
So how will the public's privacy be protected? First off, when we're operating drones in any major areas, events, public areas, anything in our feed will be live feed only. We won't be actively recording. We won't be actively watching or recording or surveilling you. It'll just be live feed only, just to make sure everything is being safe. Now, we will only be recording or taking specific data during an active crime investigation, and that's when a crime is about to be committed, is being committed, or has been committed. And that's when we will take and keep specific data just for the criminal investigation. Now, if in fact we are coming to an area and we know we're going to be taking data and we are available and it's not an active thing that we're moving, we will come up to you. If your property or your privacy might be invaded, we'll come up and ask for permission, make sure it's okay, that your property or any other persons are being recorded at that time. And any data kept will only be public at the permission of you. So if it's used in a personal crime investigation and after the fact it becomes public, you do have a choice to remove your certain persons or property or have that privacy kept instead of it being made public.
So next we'll cover what are the legal guidelines, decisions, laws that influence our program, as well as how we will follow them. So starting off, overarching, we'll be following the FAA, flying under what's called Part 107. This is a designation for the commercial application for UAS and stuff like that. As well, we plan to follow state statutes and local laws in the area for which that we are flying. Some of the decisions that have been made by the Supreme Court for UAS are FAA versus Parker. With the decision with FAA versus Parker, Parker was flying a UAS around the campus, and back then, this was back in 2012, 2011, there wasn't a whole lot of laws regarding UAS. And what they basically, what the FAA, or the Supreme Court ruled was drones are considered aircraft. With that, we have to follow all aircraft guidelines and stuff like that. So, another decision that was made by the Supreme Court was Dow Chemical versus United States. So, the ruling, which we will not necessarily be following to the T, is the use of aerial observation and photography by government agencies is permitted without a warning. So, like Chad was talking about earlier, as long as there's not an active situation going on, we want to request the ability to fly in your area where this active scene is. We don't want to just do that. We want to stay in good standing with our community and get your approval first. You guys matter the most. But like Chad also said, if there is an active scene going on, we may have to break this out with having to fly and make sure we keep our community safe in general. So one of the major things that how we will follow them is, like Chad and I talked about earlier, SOPs or standard operating procedures. They will make sure that we follow these laws and guidelines laid out by Supreme Court rulings, FAA, state and local laws, as well as UAS program training for all personnel that will be flying for the police department. All right, so next we'll be covering how will we ensure our program's transparency with the community, because you guys are very important to us. So to start off, one of the things we want to get in contact with is community leaders. So mayor, city, county, commission, all those types of people. But first off, of course, community members. This is why we are bringing it to you guys first. You guys are more important. We want to get your approval first. So second off, we plan to get with the state attorney office, city and county attorneys, informing them of UAS law, anything like that, because we want to be held accountable as well. As well, we plan to set up an advisory committee, all consisted of community members and representatives of the community. Because like I said, you guys are very important, and we are here to serve you. One of the things, or some of the things we plan to do is provide demonstrations. So again, that's another community outreach, as well as we'll have privacy policies and of course limits on use, which we've already covered some of those with Chad. So as well, the public database. So after a investigation has been closed, we will make all the information public, so you can come back and access this at any time regarding if you feel like your property or something was in that video, we can easily take it out. As well, we will make the area of operation known, the UAS flight or the aircraft that was flown. We'll make all information public.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
So do we need to vote? Is this just an executive decision that you're making? Do I get any say?
So right now, basically, we're just coming to you presenting it. Nothing is set in stone. Nothing's going to happen for sure. We're getting your feedback, because if this ever does come out, we want to make sure it's in a way that you guys are comfortable with, you guys are happy with. We don't want any tension between you guys. And what we're asking for is we're going to have questionnaires coming out, asking what you do, just like are your questions, more feedback. And then we're going to be going to your specific community leaders. And then we also want you guys to come to our community leaders, like come to the leaders in the police department, leaders in the city, leaders in different areas. Nothing has been set in stone yet. Your feedback is very important to us, and we're going to be going a very large part off that.
Question?
Go ahead.
What about our privacy?
So right now, as we talk about a lot, your privacy is very important, and we plan on very much respecting your privacy. So, like we talked about earlier, only in active situations certainly we may have to record things. If there's a situation where we need to come back and take pictures of a certain crime scene of a certain area, we'll be coming up to you if your property may or may be in the images, and we'll be getting your written permission. We'll have forms for you to come back to. And as we talked about other major live events, we will only be doing live feed. None of that will be recording or surveillance. It will just be live feed, just to make sure everything is safe.